Hi, it's May 2025. This video is actually prompted by the current transits, but I think its content is probably going to be more for student astrologers, junior astrologers, that kind of thing, because it's an exploration of the outer planets. What we need to do is look at the formation they are in at the moment and understand what the sky is saying to us. Okay, so what I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to go to the share button, and I'm going to first. I've got loads to share with you. The first thing I'm going to share is the actual chart for today, which is the 16th of May. Okay, right. I have left the grid in place. I'm sorry if you're on a mobile phone, and that means that the actual wheel is tiny for you, but it's important to see this grid. Okay, so if you've never seen a grid before, so this is a list of the planets, asteroids, dwarf planets, and it is repeated down two sides so that we can see the intersection in between two planets and look at the aspect between them. So that's the relationship between them in geometry, in degrees. So I don't know if it is in geometry. I was just like thinking that, but never mind it. It's just like, never mind. I'm thinking astrology at the moment. So it's the degrees between them. Right. So when we get to here, we've got what we call the outer planets. These four planets, so you've got Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and then Pluto. Might as well throw him in, or her in, actually. And these are not rocky planets anymore. So if I tell you what, I'm going to show you a makeup of the solar system in a moment. So I won't start talking about that. I'll actually just point out the aspect between them at the moment. So we've got a square going on, an applying square between Jupiter and Saturn, which means they're moving in towards each other or towards the completion of the aspect. We've got a sextile, separating sextile between Saturn and Uranus. And then we've got from Uranus to Neptune, we've got a sextile for applying. And then from Neptune to Pluto, we've got 2 degrees of an applying sextile at 2 degrees. But then look at the other relationships going on here. So we've got Saturn, Neptune conjunction, Saturn, Pluto sextile, Uranus trine, Pluto. See? That's quite some amazing stuff. I've missed out there. Jupiter square Neptune. Okay, so let's look at that lot on here. We have Jupiter up here. And so Jupiter is squaring Saturn. And so it is because Jupiter is in Gemini, Saturn is at 29 degrees of Pisces. And I'll tell you what, I'll just go through them as I come to them. So there's Neptune. And then we've got Uranus here. And I think that's it, isn't it? So yeah, Saturn, Neptune. Yeah, okay. Oh, there's Pluto. Mustn't forget Pluto. Right. And we've got between Pluto a sextile to Neptune. So you can see actually all of the degrees, the aspects here in the aspect lines. Right, okay. That is quite a powerful meeting of outer planets. For every single one of them to be an aspect to other outer planets is rare, to be honest with you. I think I'd have to go back to 1955, the year of my birth, to find such a thing. I haven't actually looked for it, but it's not in my memory. And 1955 certainly was an incredible year for lots of reasons. Okay, so We need to have a look at this. So I'm going to I'll stop sharing that chart now because what I want to do is basically go into an astrology tutorial about the outer planets. When I was a student 30 years ago, it was the one that the subject used to pack the astrology halls. In those days, of course, we all went to the college, Richmond College in London, and sat there listening to Liz Green or Melanie Reinhardt, or and that was the one that filled the hall, the outer planets, because they were so mysterious. It was easy to understand Mars, it was easy to understand Mercury, but the outer planets, they seemed so dense, complex, confusing. So, what I want to do first of all is show you a map, one of my hand-drawn things again, I'm afraid, of the makeup of the solar system, so you get an idea of where things are. Okay, so this diagram was actually in my book Starry Messenger, which is out of print now, my first book ever, describing the dwarf planets. I have still got copies of the reprint that was done by Findhorn Press in 2011. I think I've got about 20 copies of that, so they are still available. But after that, I'm bringing something new out. I don't want to keep repeating the old ones. Okay, the sun is in this corner. Right, just coming out from the sun, the next planet that we're concerned with is Mercury. And the planet after that is Venus. And then there's the Earth. Now, just as an aside, as far as I'm concerned, you won't find anybody else saying this, but my astrology is always a bit different. As far as I'm concerned, the proximity of these planets to the sun represents the proximity of the talent that the planet is describing, and that talent is how much it is needed towards the center of our spirit. So here's the spirit of the solar system, and let's say the solar system is just like a human being in composition. We can take from this model a model for ourselves. So Mercury, the closest to the sun's henchman, is our ability to communicate, think, store information, notice things. And that is what the sun needs most of all, so it's kept close. Then we get to Venus. So Venus is a description or a planet which represents our bodies, our security, our money, what we find comforting, etc. So it's an earth planet, so it's everything earthy. Attraction, physical attraction. Then we come to the earth, and the moon is there. So the moon is our emotions. So it's when we start to understand our emotions. It's when we start to be able to read them. And next we have Mars, describing our anger, the energy with which we wake up in the morning. So it's like testosterone or adrenaline shot. Right, all this lot are rock. And the next thing we come to is Ceres in the asteroid belt. And the asteroid belt is a planet that was broken up during the formation of the solar system. This is the end of the rocky planets. Okay, from there we go to Jupiter, which is a gas giant, and Saturn, a gas giant. So you could put your hand straight through these. They don't have a surface. They are gas, as the name implies. They both have rings, not just Saturn. Okay, that's all we need to say about those, really. I suppose I could shortcut it and say, so Jupiter is about how we cope with expansion, and Saturn is about how we cope with restriction. Right, we then go on. Now I'm going to talk astronomy now, not astrology. I do both. I'm a cultural astronomer and I'm an astrologer. Uranus and Neptune are twin planets as far as astronomers are concerned because their composition is almost identical. They both have this heavy water present. They both have strong electrical structures, very, very strong electrical influences going on with both of them. And I recognize this. I hold it that the way the planets are composed is resonant with their meanings. I don't take it that the meaning is separate to that planet up there. It is not. So if a planet has da 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 in astronomy, if the scientists resonate or respect certain aspects of a planet, then we should look at the astrology and see how that helps us understand the planet. Anyway, so Uranus, Neptune are next, and yeah, so they were considered gas giants. Now they're considered ice giants, I think it is, because of their the ice formations. Anyway, now from there, going outwards again, we get to the Kuiper Belt, and it's back to rock, right? We're back to solid stuff. And so Pluto and his gang out there in the Kuiper Belt, they are the same rock as the asteroid belt. Now, I say that in general, but in actual fact, the only two that have been examined is Ceres and Pluto, to my knowledge. They've probably done more about this since then. I was studying this 15 years ago. But Ceres and Pluto were made of the same composition, the same stuff. And so it's obvious that during the solar system, something happened which meant that the planets in between these two rocky belts were gas or ice, and then we've got these two rocky belts. That has to be taken into consideration when we're thinking about Uranus and Neptune. It has to be. And it has to be the situation, the composition, their relationship to each other. But, I mean, we do have to remember that Neptune's mighty gravity controls Pluto's orbit. Now, it controls the orbit of most of the Kuiper Belt as it happens. Neptune is only moved, perturbed, as they call it, by planet X, which hasn't been discovered yet. But Neptune controls Pluto's orbit. And I think this is something that astrologers don't easily know, don't recognize. And I think it gives a greater depth and complexity to our understanding of these outer planets. Right, now I also have to share with you my astrology reading cards again. They're handy things, these are, when you're looking at astrology. It helps you remember. Visual helps me remember anyway. So I'm going to share again. And what shall we look at as we look at Uranus? Okay, so this is the card for Uranus. Yeah, so Richard Crooks was the artist, digital artist that helped me make these cards. I think this is Bangkok. This skyline is Bangkok from memory. I'm sure he used a Bangkok skyline. But the color blue represents its air element quality. So it's an air element. And the electricity is meant to imply the sudden, groundbreaking, earth-shattering suddenness of Uranus's action, enlightenment and awakening. It says here, your potential for sudden change. We have recently been informed by the scientists, the astronomers, the space weather scientists, that electricity does indeed get passed from the sun throughout the solar system, and it makes its way down to Earth. I've really simplified that. But what it means is that we live in a strongly electrical universe, and I think that current is responsible for more than we realize. Okay, so you probably know about Uranus, don't you? It breaks through, it breaks down, it uproots, it uproars. Okay, but it's masculine, and this is the thing to remember. Its action is masculine, and so therefore it pushes outwards. It's obvious. It's in your face. It moves out in straight lines. Well, almost straight. And so this is what you have to get with Uranus, right? So it's change, but it's sudden change and it's obvious change. And it's also, I have to say, an unemotional energy. You don't get any emotional wish-wash. With Uranus, you get it straight. That spade is a spade, as far as Uranus is concerned. Right, okay. So now let's go to Neptune. The elusive, dreamy, emotional Neptune. Ah, look at this card. Fantasy, water, greeny colour. Castle over here. I think that's actually meant to be. Oh, come on, I can't remember it now. King Arthur. Never mind. No, put it in the chat box for me. Okay. Unicorn, beautiful, mermaid, fish. And the whole thing is supposed to represent water. I think it does beautifully. And it's the illusion. We've used illusional creatures here. The unicorn, the mermaid, Camelot. Just come to me, Camelot. And I think the key words here are your fantasies, yearnings, longings, and potential for illusion. This is a feminine planet. It's water. Okay. And I think anybody who has had a Neptune transit would be willing to admit that Neptune brings change. It certainly does. Let's take it as the sea, right? The sea, right, comes up the beach and washes away your neatly built sandcastles. And so that's change. And the illusion of Neptune creates change, but it does it in a soft way. Now, remember always that feminine works in cycles and circles, and masculine works in straight lines. Feminine is reclusive, it pulls in, it is gentle and soft, and sometimes difficult to sort of spot because it's so emotionally wishy-washy. It's a good word. Anyway, so Uranus and Neptune both have an electrical makeup to their astronomy, their science, planetary science. Both are, well, they're considered a pair, right? So I think the difference between them is the feminine for Neptune and the masculine for Uranus. But bear this in mind when you're dealing with them. Bear in mind that this is deity, and don't get fooled by the fact that we finished up with masculine, as in male gender names, for these planets. As far as I'm concerned, Neptune is feminine or yin in nature. It has to be. It's a water planet. And Uranus is masculine in nature. So, all right, that's got the male name, but Uranus, be careful. It is. It is. If you're going to give it a pronoun, it's definitely a she. I prefer to say it and them for all of them. I prefer that now. I think we can get misled when we think about them as all males. Anyway, so yes, going back to Uranus and Neptune. So what I want to do then is let's just see what we have to do now. Da-dun, da-dun, dun, dun. Um, I'll show you this just because I got it out. I don't really know why I did, but I'll do it. This is another view of the solar system, but this time it's the outer planets. Now the sun is over on your left, okay? And so this is a more technical view of them, really. So this is the orbit of Saturn going around the sun. This is the orbit of Uranus going around the sun. This is the orbit of Neptune going around the sun. And then we come to the Kuiper Belt, the main body of the Kuiper Belt, with the Plutinos, which are Orcus and Pluto, and the classical Kuiper Belt objects, Makemake, Haumea, Salacia, Quawa. And then over here, scattered disk, Eris, Gong. So this was just another view, really, that of the solar system. But I wanted to just point out again when I put this up that how these are arranged. So you go from this Earth planet, Saturn, into air and then into water. And so their impact and the nature of their impact and their effect is elemental, as in according to their element. Okay, right now, let's go back to this chart now. I think we've seen everything I've got there, yeah. Right, so again, I'm back to the grid. So the combination of this, right? So we've got the fire planet Jupiter making some impact. Then we've got Saturn making a definite impact, Uranus, definitely. So we go fire, earth, air, water, water. Now, water is complex. Water is our most mysterious element, and it holds the most diverse energies, right? And so the water of Neptune, emotional water of Neptune, is not the same as the creational waters of Pluto. And this is where you start to get your difference, both feminine in action, both hard to pin down, both can be elusive, dark as in invisible or unfelt or mysterious. But Pluto's action is guided by the fact that it is rocky, it is not water. It is therefore more aligned with material things and the creation of the earth and nature, much more guided by material, earth, nature type stuff. It is, after all, included with the Plutinos, and actually it's included in the whole of the Kuiper Belt. And the fact that we discovered Pluto first speaks volumes. We needed it, right? So when it was discovered in the 1930s, it would have been discovered by us. The intention of the cosmos was all around this, because we needed it to describe atomic. We needed it to describe genetics, which was a big subject at that time. We needed it to describe atomic, as I say, and the splitting of the atom, and also to go into DNA, to go into the helix, the double helix. We needed a planet to walk with us alongside all of these discoveries. So it was many years later, of course, only recently, that we discovered the rest of Pluto's gang in the Kuiper Belt. So we now have in the Kuiper Belt a distinctly new world, complex, multifaceted, difficult to understand, can be a bit dense, causing us a few scratched heads and mysterious kind of, oh well. And you'll get astrologers just ignoring it because they can't get their heads around it. They haven't done the research. They don't, and it's not, the type of energies aren't in the usual astrological world where it's always about when's my boyfriend coming back, because you don't need Salacia to talk to you about that. So it's like, people tend to get into astrology because they want to understand their own relationships first, and then you build on it as if you're going outwards in the solar system, like the Voyager spaceship. You just you move out as your astrology gets bigger. Anyway, so right, so I'm going to go back to this share again now. This is going to be the longest video. Right. I'm going back to that chart. I am. There we go. Right. So, um, meanings. Well, first of all, I mean, okay, just take the whole thing as it is. Just like step back and look at it. All of the outer planets in contact with all the other outer planets. And let's make this point really obvious. Can you see any hard aspects here? Right? We're talking soft aspects. We've got 60 degrees, 120 degrees, a conjunction. Yes, we do have a square from Jupiter. We've got two squares from Jupiter. But the rest are all palsy-walsy here. They are all in cahoots. They are all supporting each other. The aspect, the sextile aspect, is supportive. That's the point of it. It's this lot are working together. I mean, they're all in bed together. They're all in a midnight party or something. They are working together on the collective. They're working together on this wave of change that we're in. The rise of the feminine, the massive battle going on over our heads and throughout our environment between masculine and feminine as feminine rises and masculine fights back. Okay, we in as part of that battle is the examination of data and technology and artificial intelligence. It's all the stuff that as far as I'm concerned, we needed to be thinking about when Pluto went into Aquarius. And as Uranus goes into Gemini, this is just going to get louder and louder. The banging of this drum is just going to get so loud. We have lots of very obvious issues going on. And I think personally, I think one of the main ones is the internet and where it's taking us in terms of marketing and impact on people's brains and the fast pace of the demands that the different channels and different productions and broadcasting and everything's making a demand. Everything wants us, to look at it, and so we're up half the night trying to keep up with these things, and I think there's an issue as well about the amount of payment. I wouldn't like to say how many of the channels on YouTube or how many of the partners on Facebook are paying to get subscribers, paying to get likes. This is a world that people aren't aware of. A lot of people think they're just watching something because they wanted to. Actually, they're watching it because that company or that organization has paid to the platform money to have that stuff put in front of viewers first. It's a massive industry, and it means that it's all to do with money now. What we see is to do with money. It's not to do with quality. Um, all this stuff has to come out. And there we go. So we're in a period of massive change. All these different aspects are going to be moving in and out this year, just as the outer planets that are moving sign are going in and out of the zodiac signs. So it just really describes the transition, but it also describes how everything is working in harmony. And this is, for me, wow. It really is. The one energy that isn't is fire. Look at the square, Jupiter square to the others. But the two water planets, different water, nevertheless, two water, and Saturn, Earth, and Uranus air, they're all working in a harmony. And it's fire that's getting, I suppose fire could be in square because it is providing impetus, oomph. And who's representing fire? Trump, obviously. So anyway, I hope that was useful. And I kind of needed really just to do one for the budding astrologers here, or the astrologers, because I think it's important sometimes for us to get to grips with what's happening in this way. Fabulous. So please share this video with other astrologers. Please spread it around. It's not going to get viewed by the main public, is it really? This is more an astrology teaching session or something. My views anyway. It was fantastic to talk to you. So I'm an astrologer. I am Alison Chester-Lambert. And my website, Alison Chester-Lambert, is there with no pop-ups or cookies or anything else, old-fashioned but just basic. And from there you can get to the Midland School of Astrology, where there are hundreds of pages which I have archived from my research going back to 2005. So 20 years of research, all free, and you don't have to sign into anything, and you don't have to do any cookies or anything like that. You might find stuff in there that's interesting, and I hope you will. And I'd love to hear from you again or see you again. That would be nice. Okay, I'm going to say goodbye, and I loved having you. Thank you for listening. Bye.